The Hollow House opening scene, it started as a whisper. A forgotten story in a town buried under decades of silence when Olivia first heard the legend of the Hollow House. She dismissed it as small-town folklore, but there was something about the way people talked about it, like the house wasn't cursed, but alive. Part 1, The Dare. Olivia moved to Caldwell Peak last July, desperate for a fresh start after her divorce. She didn't belong there, not yet. The locals were friendly, but insular. Almost as though they shared secrets, they refused to let outsiders know. It wasn't tea until a late autumn bonfire that Olivia overheard two girls whispering about the Hollow House. They spoke in hushed tones, afraid their words might wake something. If it breathes, it listens, said a girl named Grace. Her expression was hollow, like she carried something dark that no flashlight's beam could chase away. Intrigued by their nervous laughter, Olivia pried deeper. They told her it was an abandoned house, a mile down Cypress Road. But it wasn't haunted in the traditional sense. It wasn't empty. The house, what remained of it, had a pulse. Go inside. Grace trembled. You don't come out. Or worse, something comes out with you. Everyone at the bonfire laughed nervously. But Olivia wasn't afraid of silly urban legends. There were excuses for mystery. Dramatic bedtime stories for small towns stuck in quiet isolation. She didn't believe in haunted houses. She had real-world scars. Wasn't real life worse than whatever secrets this house held? So, when someone dared her to go explore the Hollow House, she took it. Sure, she said boldly, masking guilt in her competitive tone. Why not? The next day, Sarah stood at the edge of the property. The whispering manor loomed ahead, its crumbling stone walls hunched like a wounded beast. The windows were obscured by thick curtains of ivy, as if nature itself was trying to hide the secrets within. The grounds surrounding the manor were a wasteland of withered flowers and gnarled trees, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. As Sarah took her first tentative steps forward, something felt off. The air grew heavy, pressing down on her like an invisible weight. It was thick with an otherworldly presence, reminiscent of forgotten tombs and ancient burial grounds. She clutched her camera tightly, documenting every eerie detail. It was her shield against the fear that threatened to overwhelm her. If she could capture the horror on film, perhaps she could convince herself it wasn't real. With each step closer to the manor, the world around her seemed to fade away. The rustling leaves and chirping birds fell silent, as if sound itself had been swallowed by an unseen force. The silence was deafening, pressing against her eardrums with an almost physical presence. To her surprise, the massive oak door stood slightly ajar. She had expected it to be locked tight, requiring her to find another way in. But there it was, inviting her inside with an unsettling eagerness. It was as if the house itself was beckoning her, hungry for a new victim to consume. Get a grip, Sarah muttered under her breath, trying to steady her nerves. She raised her camera, focusing on the intricate carvings that adorned the door frame. Ancient symbols and grotesque faces leered back at her, their eyes seeming to follow her every move. The porch steps creaked ominously beneath her feet as she approached the entrance. Each board groaned as if in pain, protesting her intrusion into this forgotten place. Sarah's heart raced. pounding so loudly she was sure it would give her away to whatever malevolent force might be lurking within. She paused at the threshold, her hand hovering over the tarnished brass doorknob. The cool metal seemed to pulse beneath her fingertips, almost alive with dark energy. Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. "It's just an old house," she whispered, her voice sounding small and fragile in the oppressive silence. "There's nothing to be afraid of." But even as the words left her lips, Sarah knew they were a lie. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, to flee from this place, and never return. Yet something deeper, a morbid curiosity she couldn't explain, propelled her forward. With trembling fingers, she pushed the door open wider. It swung inward with an unearthly groan, revealing the yawning darkness beyond. Sarah hesitated for just a moment, her resolve wavering in the face of the unknown. Then, gathering every ounce of courage she possessed, she stepped across the threshold and into the waiting embrace of the Whispering Manor. Part 3. Inside, the hollow house didn't seem alive at first. It was suffocating in its decay walls, stained with water damage resembling faces, the floorboards creaking like brittle bones. But there was something unnatural about the house. No smell, no mold, no rot, no dust, just air. That tasted sterile, like inside a hospital that had been closed for decades. Olivia wasn't sure what disturbed her most, the emptiness or the way it felt to clean. Her flashlight scraped across the walls, revealing faded wallpaper curling up like dead skin. Broken furniture was arranged haphazardly, almost intentionally, as if someone or something had meticulously staged the scene. She ventured further down the hall. A faint scratching noise echoed from behind the walls, like fingernails dragging across wood. Rats, she assured herself. Just rats. But when she turned a corner, she froze. The scratching had stopped. The hallway stretched far too long, far longer than it looked from the outside. That didn't feel possible. She turned back toward the entrance, but it was gone. Replacing it was an old mirror she hadn't seen before, covered in swirling scratches. The words "turn back" were carved into the surface, not just written, but etched deep as though by claws. Something flickered in the reflection. A figure. Her throat tightened, and she whipped around no one. Part 4. The basement desperate to leave. Olivia stumbled forward. Finding a staircase leading down, she prayed it led to an exit. Instead, it carried her deeper into the hollow house's gutter basement. The walls down there were damp, pulsating like breathing flesh. Everything about the space felt wrong. The support beams throbbed with low vibrations, as though veins coursed beneath the wood. And that's when she heard the whispers. Close now. Terribly close. There was a door at the far end of the basement. Something inside scratched at the other side. She wanted to turn back, but her legs betrayed her. They carried her closer, like she was moving against her will. She recorded everything, her shaking hand steadying the phone, as though it might offer her salvation. When she opened the door, she didn't scream. She couldn't. It was what was inside that broke her mind. The basement wasn't a basement at all. It was hollow flesh, twisted veins, and organs spread far and wide, as if the house itself was alive. And rooted in the center was something worse. A man, or what was left of him. His limbs were twisted and stretched impossibly long, his chest cavity ripped open, exposing pulsating organs that merged into the walls. His head jerked toward her, his milky eyes wide with agony. He wasn't speaking, but his open mouth made her ears bleed. Someone was whispering through him. She stumbled back, but when she turned, the basement walls had closed in. The flesh started to grow, swallowing her path the house wanted her. She whipped around to face the door she'd entered, but her phone dropped. Through the screen, still recording, she saw herself standing in front of that man, but she wasn't moving. The reflection spoke a distorted version of her voice, whispered through the recording. Stay. Forever, the walls closed, swallowing her whole. Epilogue days later. Her phone was found outside the hollow house, covered in mud, screen cracked, but still intact. The footage showed glimpses of her exploration, but ended abruptly. The locals whispered of her disappearance. Some believed she'd fled town. Others weren't so sure. They knew the truth. The house always wanted more. And now, when people walk past Cypress Road, they sometimes see her outline in the windows. Always standing. Always staring. You can hear her whispers, but only if it's too late. Because the hollow house doesn't haunt you. It absorbs you. It becomes you. And you become it.